Namaste. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a long weekend here in Christchurch, but thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do our work, without the support such as yourselves. We're a small organisation trying to have a big impact. So, the care that you guys have, the advocacy, and the investment of time, energy, and expertise, this is really, really valuable. So, thank you. We've got lots of food and drink over there. Please feel free to, at any time grab some of that. We will have a short break halfway through. Without further ado, I think I'll hand over to my father, the chairman, for his address. It's Ben.
Actually, I just want to acknowledge Alexander because he's doing everything for lunch. He organised the coffee machine for food. He drove here from Monaco. So thank you for going that extra distance and doing it all on your own. But as Alexander said, the supporters of any organisation are absolutely vital. Both in terms of the network, the enthusiasm, the skills, and the commitment project. All of that is incredibly important. But to give you a bit of an overview of our year, in November of 2022, Alexander, Casey and I went to Nepal and teamed up with Sami, Lima and Lakba. We were down in the Solu area where a lot of our programs are operating. And then as we moved north, we connected up with Mike, with the EduTech work and the computer laboratories. And it was wonderful to be back, I've got to say, because normally I've gone to Nepal about 3 times a year, and then suddenly COVID-19 just not only closed the door on going to Nepal, it actually closed the door on my complete career, because working in the conference industry and adventure tourism also stopped. And so when I got a wage subsidy and they said, has your business lost between 30 and 40%? People like Guy Cotter and myself said, if only. It's 100%. It absolutely disappeared. Anyway, Mike, it's great having you here, and I've got to say the collaboration with you both with EduTech, I think it's one of the most wonderful things, because of all the work that we've done in the background. Literacy in the 21st century is not just reading a piece of paper, and it never will be again. Yes, you need to be able to read a simple thing like this, but technology, being able to source information is absolutely vital. And what you've come up with, even when they haven't got connectivity so that they can learn how to use that technology, is absolutely brilliant. And I really see that as a very important part of what we offer, and I'd like to see this collaboration go on from strength to strength into the future, because it's an absolutely critical part of education in the current times. Obviously, fundraising is a major focus, and really, in many respects, that's the job of Himalayan Trust here in New Zealand, is to run programs, get support from people like yourselves, and to raise funds. And I really want to acknowledge that Alexander with Summit Challenge, it's got a great following. We need to just sort of maintain that. And I've got to say, my wife Yvonne and I, we love getting down south and trying to see if we can manage to do the height of Everest. And we almost got benighted on Roy's Peak. My cell phone had just about gone flat, and I sent one last message out to him to say, look, if you don't hear from us again, you may need to come and get us. We've become benighted on the way down. I just thought we've got 2 cell phones and got enough light on each of them, but Yvonne left hers behind and my battery was running down. So it's nothing like doing matrimonial drama on the way, trying to do your stomach challenge
In the dark.
in the dark. Our partnership, of course, with EdFat in Wellington is a very important part of what we do, the educational programs and look, the advice and the inputs from our partners in EdFat is a very important part of what we do. A general overview of the Himalayan Trust. As before, our staff members, we just have Alexander and Casey, who's just recovering, isn't he, from COVID-19. He went away on his honeymoon. I guess that's what he got. So, yeah, they are doing a great job. We, as before, only operate with one NGO partner in Nepal, which is Himalayan Trust Nepal, and that's actually how my father operated, and I'm finding that much simpler, that everything goes through our one group in Kathmandu through Dr. Mingman Norbill. So looking ahead, our focus is on fundraising for Nepal programs and also building up an investment fund. And of course, we're not doing too much of that because we're struggling to sort of balance the books, but that's our aspiration. And it is important. It gives us the capacity to deal with events that come along. The earthquake in 2015, suddenly you've got a major issue. We want to do something and you've got funds that you can use right away while you do fundraising. And that's one of the important things about having that contingency investment fund in place. Similarly with COVID-19, all the virologists I'm reading will go, be prepared. This is not the end. And so these sorts of events are things that we can make a contribution to, but we need the funding to actually be able to make that meaningful. We have a special relationship with Nepal, and that comes out of the teamwork of the Himalayan Trust, but it also comes from the history and the legacy of my father in Tenzing up there on Mount Everest in 1953. It's a pretty extraordinary piece of history that the Himalayan Trust has, and the people who've been involved in the Himalayan Trust, and I think it's something we can be very proud of. We want our membership to volunteer. A lot of you do a lot for the Himalayan Trust already, but we need even more help. Alexander and Casey are a small team, and so where there is a possibility to assist them with some of their roles, that would be greatly appreciated. So anyone who can increase what they do, or perhaps would like to make a contribution in that way, that would be wonderful. Now, Himalayan Trust board members, as per the rules of the Himalayan Trust current constitution, two of our board members have to stand down as they've been on 2 terms on the board. And they're Claire Newman and Mike Gill. So they have to stand down by the current rules right now. We also have 2 people who were co-opted onto the board. So they've had a year with us, and that was Lindsay Strang and Alex McMahon. And so what we're proposing is next year we'll have an election for those who are still, coming up to their 3-year term, and that'll be an opportunity for more people to join the board again. So currently on the board, we have Rinji, yes, here he is, Bruce Aaron over here, David Simmons, Kirsten Nicholson, I don't know, did she come down? I thought she was coming down. Emma, who's over in the Northern Territory and possibly looking in at some point, and me. So what we're proposing to do tomorrow is to co-opt Mike Gill, who hasn't come down, and Claire onto the board at tomorrow's Himalayan Trust Board meeting. And I'd like to thank both Lindsay and Alex for their commitment to Himalayan Trust and for their ongoing advice and support and friendship. So thank you. Constitutional amendments. Well, later in the meeting, I'll raise the proposed amendments. These were sent out, both in a marked up version of the current constitution and what has been raised. And I will run over these, we'll run through it again, and then we'll go back and have a vote on the those particular amendments. The 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest in May of this year. I've got to say, a lot of us were there. It was an incredible experience. It really was. Being up in Khumbu, you know, Mount Everest up there, Ahmedabad, the local communities, Kundi, Kunjung, Nachi, putting on the most incredible community celebrations, singing and dancing and food and just great company. Down in Kathmandu, we had a succession of events, including a visit to President Pudal of Nepal's palace. A lot of us moved on to Delhi, where I've got to say we felt like rock stars in Delhi. I mean, the whole Everest thing is just extraordinary. You know, people are clamoring for to shake your hand, to get a signature, to get a photograph. It was an extraordinary experience. Very hot down there in May, early June. We moved on to London for events at the Royal Geographical Society, a big fundraiser at level 42 down in the city for Himalayan Trust UK. And then John Lang, Sue Layden and I went on to Buckingham Palace and had a meeting with King Charles, who was very interested in, well, I guess his father was the patron of the 53 expedition, very interested in the welfare of the Sherpa climbers, the work that we did. So it was a pretty extraordinary experience. The security was so high, I thought I was going to miss it. There were armed police everywhere, bellowing at the thousands of people clamoring around the fence line. But anyway, eventually we got through and made our way into Buckingham Palace. So a pretty extraordinary experience. Then members of the Hillary and Tenzing families moved on to Geneva for another celebration. And then, of course, after that, we had our own Himalayan Trust Everest 70th events in Auckland and Christchurch. And we were fortunate to have Prime Minister Chris Hipkins at the Auckland event. And I just got back from San Francisco, where they had an Everest 70th event, the American Himalayan Foundation. I'm on the board of the American Himalayan Foundation. And so Norman and I sort of presented a whole lot of that. They had a whole lot of leading climbers, you know, attending the event. It certainly was a pretty nice celebration. It was wonderful on the 29th of May this year, to open the Serengeti Visitor Centre at Kunjung School. So, you know, the original school building that Dad built back in 6061 has been converted into this visitor centre, a little museum. And Sarah really led the whole process of this with, you know, the exhibits. I did most of the funding. And we managed to make this happen. I'd like to actually acknowledge Jason for helping us with some of the accounting of that, because it did start coming all over the place. GST for this and GST for that. But anyway, I think he sorted it out. So thank you very much for that. So Alexander's got really a short film about Everest 70th. So enjoy. He's using my computer, which is his old computer, and he tells me it's way outdated.
Today marks 70 years since Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest with Sherpa Tenzing Norgay.
Since Hillary, in his words, knocked the bastard off, more than 6,000 others have climbed the world's highest peak.
Everest conquered, the New Zealander Edmund Hillary got his first mail and congratulatory telegrams from George Lowe, a fellow countryman and expedition colleague. Thus, 35 miles from Kathmandu, capital of Nepal, Hillary and Tenzing were welcomed and congratulated by their fellow members of the expedition.
You know, it's incredible to think that 70 years ago, they were up there near the summit of Mount Everest. They struck off along from the south summit, along a knife-edged ridge with a 2.5 kilometre drop into the western tomb of Nepal and a nearly 4 kilometre drop to the Kangshung of Tibet. My father scratched his way up, pulling up on the rock, wedging his body between the rock and the ice, and then moving up. The two of them moved up over the last narrow ridge to the summit of the world's highest mountain.
Hi, my name's Alexander Hillary. I'm the General Manager of the Himalayan Trust and Sir Ed's grandson. We're here in front of the Hillary Memorial at Chorlton, just above Kumjung village in the Himalayas. And we've just been planting 70 trees for the 70th anniversary on the 1st of September. So we're celebrating this anniversary with a Himalayan Trust trek through our projects in the Himalayas. But here on the eve of the anniversary, we're doing a number of things. We've had a program at the Kumjung School of dancing, cultural performances, and we've been planting trees. We've been visiting and opening a new dental clinic at Kundi Hospital.
My name is Peter Hillary, and I'm speaking to you from just outside Kundi Hospital, up here at 3,800 meters in the Himalayas at the foot of Mount Everest.
I think Kundi Hospital provides much more sophisticated services now than it did when I was here. The hospital is better equipped, but also there is a change in the type of disease which the hospital is dealing with.
Well, it's been a great pleasure to inaugurate this dental clinic at Kundi Hospital. And just as Kundi Hospital, well, one of its most important roles is preventative. You know, it's helping people to be healthy so that they don't need all of the services of the hospital. That's the role of this dental clinic. To provide dental hygiene, dental education, and to try to make sure that people's dental health is greatly improved.
Okay, then, here again.
there is going to be a dental clinic in Kundi Hospital that is devoted towards preventive care and educational care within the school system. Because there is so much sugar in this community now, compared to early times, I'm talking about the 1960s again, when there was almost no sugar in the whole community. Now there is sugar available in the bazaar, there is sugar in sweets, there are sweet lollies and things like that, and children get caries, dental caries, at a much younger age group than they ever did when I was working here. And there needs to be education about how not to use those sweets or to reduce the need of the sweets, and also to clean teeth and to generally look after their oral health. So I think the clinic will perform a very useful function.
The primary motivation for establishing the Sir Edmund Hillary Visitor Centre at Kunjum is because the Kunjum community and Kunjum School requested it. And as we looked at it, we realised it was an incredible opportunity to retain a piece of history, the first school building, and turn it into a type of interpretation centre. So we got in right behind it. We worked hard to come up with different design ideas for how this could be implemented inside, and of course the all-important part, which is fundraising to fund the whole operation. And I've got to say, on behalf of the Hillary family, my sister Sarah Hillary and myself, we are absolutely delighted with the way we've collaborated and the incredible result, and I hope it's a real benefit to the Kunjum community and Kunjum School for decades to come.
The centre has been established with the funding support of Rolex, Perpetual Planet, Himalayan Trust organisations from the United Kingdom, New Zealand and Nepal, the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Sir Edmund Hillary Stiftung of Germany, the Greater Himalayas Foundation, Sir Graham and Lady Ridley, Sir Edmund Hillary's son and daughter Peter and Sarah Hillary, and other generous donors. Let's show our appreciation to them all. Thank you.
I feel very privileged to be here today to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the ascent of Mount Everest by my father and Sir Edmund Hillary, and also to be here at the Mendefu in Namche Bazaar for the inauguration and opening of the Tenzing Norgay Heritage Center. And this idea was inspired to me many years ago when I thought I'd like to have a statue of Tenzing Norgay in Nepal somewhere. And there's no better place to have it than at the top of the hill in Namche Bazaar, where we have 360-degree views of the mountains and with Mount Everest right behind. And with the support from the National Park, the people of Namche Bazaar and all the Sherpa people and the government of Nepal, we were able to get permission to build the statue over here. And we saw this old museum over here that was dilapidated, which was built in 1980, and no one was visiting. So I decided that we need to upgrade this museum. And make it a place where people can come and learn about the Sherpa culture, the heritage of the Sherpas, the mountains, the Himalayan mountains, the history of Everest, history of Tenzing Norgay, all the other mountaineers, and also about the environment. So with the help of many of our sponsors and friends, we were able to build this and have this finally able to inaugurate this museum today.
Yeah, I didn't organise that heroic music for this board meeting. It was a board meeting we had at the end, but we can take a quick step by the end. It was an incredible, time of celebration and people coming together, which was really, really special. For us, it was also an amazing opportunity to take, some of our supporters and donors across to see the places we're working and supporting. And it was amazing to see, how moving that was for so many people, including some people we had here today. But it was a great experience, and it was just to have that that visibility and that exposure to share what we're doing, through that inspiring story of it. Was really, really wonderful. I'd like to thank Himalayan Trust and Paul for putting that video together. They've been making huge efforts to, capture really great material of the work we're doing, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, but also this amazing documentary of that incredible time. But it's very valuable to us. We're a small organisation. We can't afford to make numerous trips all the time. And so it's great to, get regular updates through, really good videos and photos these days. But before I sort of move on from Everest here, I just want to say a huge thank you to a few particular people that made sort of all of those events around the world was that my father described. One of those people was Graham Wrigley from HT UK. He helped sort of inspire and pull that whole collaboration internationally together. Also, Lisa Chogle, who I'm sure many of you know, the honorary consul in Nepal, who did a huge amount of work to make all of those things happen. And then, of course, HT as well. But we're also incredibly grateful to our patron, Helen Clark. She came on a holiday with us, and I don't think it was a particularly relaxing holiday for her. She was doing speeches just about every second day and doing all sorts of photos. So her time and her patronage of Himalayan Trust and support is incredible. She has such a wealth of experience from the United Nations that we really benefit from, and her connection. So another person we really owe to the amazing success of that event. But now I'd like to wind back a bit, because this time last year, Dad and I made that trip with Casey, who can't join us. He was going to be with us today, but he came down with COVID this week. So he's just isolating away, but he's with us in spirit. But we made a monitoring trip, which was the first one in some time due to COVID. And it was a very important one. You know, there'd been the Himalayan Trust in terms of physical presence in the Himalayas had been totally absent for many, many years, and just working through Himalayan Trust and Nepal. So it was a really, really important opportunity for us to engage with, you know, parent teacher associations, local government, and all sorts of different, you know, community representatives. So we didn't do an enormous amount of, you know, in-classroom monitoring as we otherwise sort of normally would. It was a lot of meetings with local dignitaries, etc. But it was a very, very important trip for us. One of the first things we did was inaugurate the Bowden Computer Lab in the absence of Mike. And that was a really wonderful experience to see actually the partnership in action, and that incredible computer lab, which is going really, really well. And you can see the enormous pile of malachite that have been accumulated there, the marigold flowers that were gifted to us, and of course Mike and Cheryl. So yeah, it was an immense privilege actually to see the kids. You know, I've been reading reports and talking about a lot, but to see the kids in these computer labs at work. I won't talk too much about it, but Mike's going to talk more about, you know, how these labs work. But they're an amazing unit. And we're very, very lucky to have EduTech Nepal as a partner, because we couldn't put together such an amazing result without that partnership. So it's something we're very proud of. And as Peter said, you know, an education today isn't complete without technological literacy. And these computer labs really bring that. And the future is very, very exciting. But there are also challenges. So with our quality education program, we're partnered with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Foreign Aid, the New Zealand Aid Development Corporation. And, you know, there are many aspects, structured aspects to the quality education program, from teacher training and other items, but every now and then, you know, different events come up and we have a sort of small grant allocation. And you know, one of these was a computer lab that was actually working really, really well. It was inaugurated by Helen Clark on her patrons trip. It actually ground to a halt due to an insufficient supply of electricity. So one of our small grants was the installation of solar panels and a battery array to enable that to keep going. And there are a number of different small grants, from, you know, science equipment to one of the schools to you know, different things that will support outside of our sort of regulated program. But one of those regulated things, which has been a particular focus for the past year, has been the improvement of classrooms. So I'm sure many of you have visited schools in the Himalayas. You know, there are varying levels of classroom environments, and some of them are not good enough for young children to study in. So a big focus for this past year has been the improvement of, you know, ECED, early childhood educational development classrooms, and making improvements such as this. So it's painting the walls, it's replacing the carpet, insulating the floors, it's providing furniture that is appropriate for young children, and generally just improving the atmosphere to make it warmer and a nicer environment for kids to learn. And the results are pretty amazing. So when you look at the difference between these two classrooms, you know, we haven't rebuilt the classroom, we haven't made major renovations, but the difference in that child's experience in that classroom is huge. Another important part of the QUEX program is scholarships. So there are 78 different scholarships within the QUEX program. And there's been some really, really good results with how those sort of scholarships have landed in terms of equity. There's been a lot of female students getting these scholarships and being eligible for them, which has been absolutely wonderful to see. And some of the students are doing really, really great things and are getting really great grades. So it's really, really good to see that. We also have some bachelor level scholarships, which are also working well. We've had to make some adjustments in the scholarship framework as well. Of course, a really big part of the program is our skill-based teacher training program. So that is going into the field, sitting with teachers, training them with things like the new curriculum, which was rolled out in Nepal a couple of years ago. And so training them to teach that new school curriculum in things like English, math, science, and Pali, but also grading and developing lesson plans and all those sorts of things. And there's quite a thorough monitoring and revisiting program involved in that. So it's not just, running these programs and walking away. We have teacher trainers that are returning to these schools, every couple of months to work with the teachers to see what's working for them, what's not, and making improvements there and helping work with them. And it's not just teachers that's with, it's also parent-teacher associations and school boards. So really bringing in all of the different stakeholders of education and making sure that things are moving forwards. And that's a really important thing. I think, parent-teacher associations are a very important part of the education system in Nepal. So that's a vital part of the program. And the other thing is literacy through integrated learning. So focusing on literacy for young people, making sure that, there are no kids getting through without a thorough literacy foundation. And so there are a number of different things involved in that. And this is sort of a program that overlaps with the school-based teacher training program. There's a lot of teacher training in that, but there's also different things like lesson planning. There's a home reading logbook that's being given to parents and students to help them with reading outside and literacy outside of the classroom as well. And part of that program is also actually, working with the local community to really ensure that literacy is valued by the local community.
Alexander, can I ask, do they teach English as well as Italian?
Yes, not all schools. And then another part is teaching materials. So our quality education program is in up to 106 different schools. And 106 schools receive stationery, supplies, and furniture, things like that. But not all schools are involved in our teacher training programs, for example. But stationery for a whole year for 106 schools is quite a lot. As you can see in the HDN office in Kathmandu, which then gets taken up into sort of a variety of different methods, trucks, being carried, helicopters, all sorts of different things where possible. Another important part of the program is the teacher salary support. It's also a very challenging part of the program, but Himalayan Trust has 17 teachers from 12 schools around Solihull that we support. And they're excellent teachers, and in many cases, they're a vital part of these strong schools. So we're very proud to be supporting those schools, and some have done for a very, very long time. But it's definitely something in the future that will have to be addressed. The sustainability of supporting teachers indefinitely is a challenge, but in the short term, these teachers are excellent. They've got great engaged classrooms, and they bring much needed stability to some of these schools where the local education department has a high rotation of teachers around the country. On that monitoring trip, we received an enormous amount of requests, in fact, millions of dollars worth of requests. From entire hospital buildings to orthopedic surgeons to playgrounds and water systems and all sorts of different things. It was very moving to sort of hear the stories about why people needed these requests. Obviously, we can't support them all, but it really gives us great context for the needs in Nepal. And we hope to address some of them, but of course we can't. And then of course healthcare. So actually 50,000, not $50. We provide $50,000 in funding to Community Hospital from an American donor, and that is a joint funding relationship with the American Himalayan Foundation, and we do that with Himalayan Trust Nepal. And it's an amazing program. Community Hospital is running really well. care provision, of which there is a number of overlaps, and definitely a solution that works with the different clinics and healthcare resources within the region is very important. That's something that has been a real big challenge for us. But Kundi Hospital really does provide that long-lasting stability of provision of healthcare, and it has done for some time. And then, of course, Everest 70. I won't talk too much about it because we talked about it a lot, but it was an amazing event from a cultural perspective, from a Himalayan Trust work perspective. And the visitor centre, for those that haven't been able to visit, is absolutely extraordinary. You know, this is built in the original schoolhouse, which is an old tin shed. I'm putting it out there. It's an old tin shed. And you step inside of it and you are transported into this amazing, rich, vibrant museum, which tells the story of the local flora and fauna, of its people, the history of the Himalayan Trust, what the students from this first school went on to do. And it's all situated within the school, which I think is really, really valuable. Numbers, obviously, for the monsoon are very, very low, but they have started to pick up, and they're reporting pretty good numbers. And so it's great to see, because it's bringing people into Kumjung, into the school, to see, education alive and well, and then telling that story, which is just fantastic. And then fast forward, after many, many events all over the place, we had our Everest 70 events here in Auckland and Christchurch. And that was really, really special, because, we got to tell these stories and share that with so many people. And they were amazing events, and a lot of people, I won't start naming names, but a lot of people put a huge amount into making these events happen. And I'm incredibly grateful from a team of two. We couldn't have pulled these off without all the support of members and board members and supporters. So a huge thank you to all of those people. And because we're in Christchurch, I just thought we'd play a little video, it's quite short, about the Auckland event, which was done for us by TEDx, some supporters.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Namaskar. Good evening, everybody. It is a fantastic pleasure to be with you all this evening to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest.
I remember when Sir Ed was asked how he felt during the 50th anniversary, which was 20 years ago. I remember him saying that 50 years is within the memory of most people, and 60 years is history. And here we are today, 70 years later, and what my father and Ed and the wonderful 1953 expedition achieved sort of continues to spark this kind of admiration, not just in New Zealand, but around the world.
My father went up and made his way up the step with Tenzing feeding out the rope. And once they got up that, they knew that they could reach the top of the highest mountain. And that's what they did 70 years ago.
It was a fantastic event, and it was something we're really proud of. A lot of awareness, as we said, but the real challenge for us now is translating that enthusiasm, that awareness, into support, into fundraising, and making these programs go further. And so that's what we're working really hard to do at the moment. But our trip, I thought I mentioned, was fantastic to take people to Nepal again. It's the key. You've got to see a place. You've got to know something to protect something, is what they say about the national parks. You have to know about it, you have to see it to love it and want to protect it. So it was great to run a trek again and get people back to Nepal, and that this has been done in the past, but we hope to make it a more regular occurrence. We had 20 trekkers from New Zealand and the USA. It was a fantastic group, and we had a lot of fun. We visited schools, hospitals, we visited the opening of the visitor centre and all those different things. So it was an amazing thing that Himalayan Trust could offer to supporters, an insight to step sort of just behind the regular trekking group and actually engage in local communities and see local people. And it also proved to be a very successful fundraiser for us too. We really believe in, not leave no trace traveling, but actually having an impact on the place that you visit. So many times these days people travel and they just skim around the edges, they take photos and they don't engage. So what we really want to do is offer an opportunity for people to travel and to people to engage, to develop relationships, and also contribute. So each of our trekkers fundraised and contributed money back to our programs, which is something that we think is really special. And we had a fantastic group. Helen and her partner Peter were on the trek as well. And we're really looking forward to running another itinerary this time next year, where we're going to go through to Lower Solukhumbu and travel up through Lower Solukhumbu and then up into the Khumbu that a lot of people are familiar with. Another critical part of our fundraising is, of course, regular giving. It's something that just provides a constant income for us year round, and it's really, really important. And there's been a lot of changes to our regular giving lately. I think, the cost of living in New Zealand has been a challenge, but we've been reacting to that and putting a lot of effort into online advertising, which Casey has put a huge amount of work into, using Facebook and Instagram to help share our story and bring on new regular givers that can help support the work. And so I think he will tell us a bit more about that in a minute, but I just want to say tuche and thank you to all of our regular givers listening. Peter mentioned volunteering and support. We've had a huge amount of support from people, and we're really grateful for that, but we're always seeking different forms of support. A few of the things that we're floating around at the moment is obviously we have so many stories, such a rich history in Himalayan Trust. So support with communications would be fantastic. But we're also embarking on some new projects next year, which we'll talk about a bit later, which we're going to need some expert help, advising us and making sure that we're considering all the variables and supporting us in the team. So please keep an eye out on your membership emails, because we'll definitely mention those things there. And if you know of anyone, if you can think of anyone who might be able to help us, it'd be greatly appreciated. So as I said, Casey wasn't able to join us today because he's got COVID, but he's going to join us in a video call, not a video call, video recording, just with a quick update on the social media, the communications, the fundraising element. Casey is taking on more and more of the fundraising activities to enable me to work more on program work, which is fantastic. We're a tiny team, but it's a privilege to work with him. And
hi everyone, my name's Casey Hemingway and I'm the other half of the Himalayan Trust's NZ-based team. My role focuses on fundraising, marketing and business operations, so that's largely what I'll be talking about today. I'm really disappointed not to be here with you in person today, but unfortunately I got COVID late last week and I didn't want to risk passing it on to anyone here. So with all that said, let's get stuck into it. First off, marketing and communications. In the past year, we've made some big strides in enhancing our marketing and communications efforts, resulting in improved donor engagement and support for our mission here at the Trust. One of our key achievements was the successful implementation of ActiveCampaign, a cutting-edge CRM and marketing automation tool. This upgrade has enabled us to provide a more personalised and seamless donor experience, with our contact list growing a total of 5% in the last year, up to nearly 7,300 contacts. We've also committed to a consistent communication schedule with our supporters, with our weekly newsletter, Mail by Runner, and our monthly newsletter. And just recently, we've introduced two new communication initiatives, the quarterly Regular Givers Update and the quarterly Members Update. These updates provide our loyal donors and members such as yourselves with an in-depth insight into the impact of your contribution. We look forward to building on these successes in the coming year. In particular, our Mail by Runner newsletter has continued to grow since its launch nearly 2 years ago. We now have over 400 subscribers with an average annual growth rate of 20%, which we're really pleased with. We've had great feedback on the bite-sized concept of Malbar Runner. Moving on to our social media. Over the past year, our social media strategy here at the Himalayan Trust has achieved considerable growth. Most notably, our Instagram account has seen a remarkable surge, with our following expanding by over 50% to nearly 2,000 dedicated followers now, largely thanks to the awareness brought about by Summit Challenge. Meanwhile, our Facebook page remains robust, with a loyal following of 9,300 supporters. We believe that our success on social media can be attributed to a well-balanced content strategy. We curate a diverse mix of content that includes educational and historical posts, regular bite-sized updates sourced from our Malbar Runner newsletter, real-time updates on program delivery in Nepal, and compelling campaigns and appeals. This mix allows us to connect with our audience on multiple fronts, keeping them informed, inspired, and engaged. We're really pleased with the progress we've made in the past year, and we're going to keep building in the years to come. Moving across now to our regular giving. We've been working really hard at expanding our regular giving program, with the understanding that regular giving has the ability to form the backbone of our fundraising strategy. To date, we now have over 300 active monthly regular givers across New Zealand and abroad, with an over 18% growth rate in the past year alone. This growth can be attributed to a dramatic improvement to our online donation form, which makes the process of becoming a regular giver over just a one-off donor both easy and rewarding. And this boost in on-website conversion is also partly thanks to our newly implemented always-on social media marketing, which works to recruit new regular givers into our audiences. On the whole, we're really happy with how our regular giving is trending, and we look forward to doubling down on this in the years to come. Changing tack to our business systems. Just a brief note here. Our commitment to refining and optimizing our systems and processes at the Himalayan Trust has yielded substantial benefits over the past year, aligning perfectly with Chair Peter Hillary's vision of a lean and effective non-profit organization. I mean, we're two people, and that's awesome. So one example of this is the revised self-service membership renewal process that most of you will have probably just gone through. By handling membership renewals yourselves through automatic credit card rebills, our team, Alex and I, have more time available to focus on the important stuff, such as bringing new donors in and our programmatic work over in Nepal. Shifting focus to our campaigns and appeals, we'll talk now briefly about Summit Challenge. So 2023 was our largest Summit Challenge to date, with 604 individuals and teams together raising $95,000. It was also the inaugural year of our partnership with the Australian Himalayan Foundation to put on a Trans-Tasman Challenge, something we were really excited about, to play on the brotherly rivalry between our two nations. Our participants said that our communications were well balanced between both the fundraising and the activity sides of the challenge, a piece of feedback we worked hard to incorporate from previous years of the challenge. And then listening further to feedback we had, we've built a custom integration with Strava, an application for your phone, which allows users to automatically upload their walks, runs, and bike rides from Summit Challenge onto the platform automatically. Our participants told us that fundraising was harder than usual this year, largely due to inflation and the cyclone. Unfortunately, we also saw a lower uptake on the fundraising side of the challenge in general, with fewer participants uploading their profile photos, completing their profile descriptions, or posting to their blog or social media. We're eagerly planning for the 2024 challenge, and we hope to see you out in the hills or at one of our events. Shifting to the theme that's coming up very soon, the Christmas appeal. Last year's Christmas appeal was focused on the sale of our donation Christmas cards, with a secondary focus on the traditional donation appeal. The printing of the cards was donated to the Trust by Soar Printing in Auckland. So the sale of each card for $25 represented 100% of a donation. The appeal brought in a nominal amount and is worth continuing with, but is by no means a flagship fundraiser for the Trust. However, Christmas is all about giving. So this year, we want to celebrate the people who have given to the Trust. To do so, we're sending them a personal Christmas card and a note of thanks for their work. Tapping into this network of key supporters at this time of year, we're going to be offering Christmas cards and festive tea towels, offered for the first time, illustrated by Amp Sang, the illustrator of Peter Hillary's children's book, 4 Yaks and a Yeti, which included a donation to the Himalayan Trust. Our hope is that, for our supporters, these charitable gifts will be preferred over traditional material gifts. Anyway, that's all from me today. Again, my apologies for not being there in person with you. I would have loved to be there. Have a great annual dinner, and I'll see you at one of our events in 2024. Thanks. Bye.
We actually have the tea towels just here. Casey reminded me of something actually that I neglected to mention, which was, we're collaborating more with the Australian Himalayan Foundation on Summer Challenge. And we're also looking to extend that collaboration a bit further. And the Australian Himalayan Foundation run an education program in Solukhumbu. There are lots of different areas where we overlap. And it's so important to have maximum impact in Solukhumbu that we collaborate better. So strengthening those relationships is a real priority for me. And also working with different NGOs in Nepal. It's really important that we're not wasting energy, wasting money, wasting time. So that's going to be a big focus, because April 2025, our education program with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trades ends. So we'll be undergoing a design process next year, which will be quite an extensive 5-year design. And a big part of that this year is going to be making sure that we collaborate as much as possible and address other people's plans quite thoroughly. So putting a lot of groundwork into that. So Mima isn't with us today, but he's also recorded a short address from Kathmandu for us.
Kia ora, Tasidele, namaste. Respected Chairman, Mr. Peter Hillary, Board Members, General Members, General Manager Alexander Hillary, Jason Edwards, Casey, respected founder of Zealand Nepal, Mr. and Mrs. Jizom, respected trustees of Forgotten Shepherds of Nepal Trust, ladies and gentlemen, once again, namaste. It is my great pleasure to present with you some of the highlights of the annual progress report of Himalayan Trust Nepal 2022-23 in the AGM of Himalayan Trust New Zealand. I can remark that the year was a great success in the history of Himalayan Trust. We could make considerable achievement over the year as COVID-19 remained no longer a threat. All the programs of Himalayan Trust Nepal, that is health, education, livelihoods, and environment, all were operated smoothly. We were able to spend a New Zealand dollar 1.6 million or US dollar 1 million over the last fiscal year. I and my team feel highly privileged as we have been able to make Himalayan Trust a clearly visible and impact-making non-profit organization in Nepal and promoted it in the overseas over the year. This would not have been possible without the leadership of Chairman Mr. Pasandao Sherpa, guidance of the Executive Committee, teamwork of the management professionals, and donor support. I would like to acknowledge that Himalayan Trust and New Zealand Aid Program as our major donors, supporters, and partners. We have many other incredible donors and partners to thank here. They include American Himalayan Foundation, So-Called Family Foundation, Sir Edmund Hillary Stiftung Germany, Bernard Shamos Foundation, Himalayan Trust UK, Sir Edmund Hillary Foundation Canada, and many more. They have been supporting our target groups through Himalayan Trust Nepal, and we are making impactful change in the Solukhumbu district. The joint funding of multi-donors projects and programs have made a remarkable milestones in our program areas. Himalayan Trust Nepal and New Zealand share the credits and responsibilities in order to continue the legacy of Sir Edmund Hillary in the 21st century. I myself, my board and management team feel immensely proud for the successful implementation or celebration of the 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest. All the program activities from the field to Kathmandu and at international level were remarkable. Himalayan Trust Nepal could coordinate with various stakeholders and host more than 200 guests from 10 different countries without any challenges. The details of the progresses have been shared with you through our annual progress report. The report has been emailed to you and some hard copies have been shared here in today's AGM. I want to share with you some of the milestone achievements here. In the field of education, we have managed scholarship for 290 students. 106 schools were supported with teaching materials and stationaries. 20 teachers' salaries has been supported to a dozen schools. 35 computer labs were installed in Solukhumbu and Kotang districts. 407 teachers from 77 schools were trained. A well-designed hostel for 24 students and a teacher has been built and handed over to the school management at Virendra Jyoti Schools, Sotang. Likewise, in the health sector, Kunde Hospital and its outreach clinics have treated 5,600 patients. Namche Dental Clinic alone provided dental service for 1,100 patients. Pablo Hospital has served for 12,833 patients. Patley and Goli clinics, through the funding support of Forgotten Shepherds of Nepal Trust, New Zealand treated 2,288 patients. Now I would like to highlight some of the key policies for implementation of projects in the coming years. We will continue to operate and manage the ongoing health, education, culture, and livelihood programs more effectively and inclusively. We will make regular monitoring visits to the project sites, provide backstopping support to the project staff, collect comments and feedbacks from beneficiaries, and integrate them into project management. This will be undertaken through executive board members' monitoring visits, joint visits by the board members to the project sites with donors and partners and government representatives on a regular basis. Apart from the ongoing program management and project implementation, we will also continue field visits, interact with the local beneficiaries, undertake feasibility studies, develop project proposals, and seek for financial supports. We will continue to seek financial support and partnership funding for Jorsele Water and Fire Hydrant Project, 2 classroom building construction of Bal Vikas Basic School at Taksindo, 5 classroom block for Toskam Basic School at Sotang, 24-bed hostel for Sotang High School, solar projects for Chereme and Gaikharka villages in Makulung Rural Municipality, hostel facility support for Namche Basic School, etc. We will add at least 5 computer labs per year in Solukhumbu and Kotang districts schools in partnership with EduTech Nepal and Himalayan Trust New Zealand. We continue to monitor the effective use of the already established 35 labs regularly. We efficiently manage the different scholarship programs and expand the program from the current service of 290 scholarships per year. We are dedicated to the responsible and efficient utilization of donor funds. Our commitment includes maintaining transparency and preventing the duplication of program activities. We ensure that donors and partners are regularly informed of project progress through various channels, including quarterly, semi-annual, half-yearly reports, and as well as other means of communication. Last but not the least, I would like to wish you a very happy and successful AGM. Thank you very much. Kia ora.
Thanks, Nina, for preparing that. Just a quick note, if you'd like to learn more about program stuff, because I realise this is quite all brief and summarises a lot of it, but you can download our annual report on himalayantrust.org, and Mike has very kindly brought from Nepal just recently Himalayan Trust Nepal's annual report, which has very thorough detail. So there are a few copies that you can take home, and we'll send out the digital copy of all that soon.
Look, great seeing James here. It's sort of all back all the memories from Everest 70th, actually. I remember Mingler's attention to detail is incredible. Energy is really remarkable. And I remember him telling me that he was concerned about having such a large number of visitors up in the Kumbu. He wanted to have lots of health support. And he told me that we're going to have 3 doctors dotted around the Kumbu. One, of course, at Kumbi, Dr. Kami, and Dr. Nina Nachi. Heard this. I said, I think that's too much. It's too many doctors. Well, as it turned out, my wife Yvonne and I got so sick, we used all 3 of them. Wherever we went, in their services. So I guess he was right. It was a good thing. But look, I just wanted to touch on some of that, the fundraising side of things. And in the video that Ingrid's team at HDN made, there was a little award ceremony for David Sokol, his daughter Kelly, and their family. And David's a fellow who I met at Kelly down in Antarctica. Sort of was networking, you know. It turned out, I didn't know who this guy was, but I can tell he was a very successful businessman. He was Warren Buffett's right-hand man. He was gone out on his own. And I said, David, you've got to go. Well, but even before he went to Nepal, he said, I'm going to help him support Kumbi Hospital. And as many of you will know, for about 30 years, the Zealand and Nepal Foundation in Toronto in Canada has supported the Kumbi Hospital with training of medicos and the day-to-day running of the hospital. But they have withdrawn from that. And so the Himalayan Trust and the American Himalayan Foundation has stepped into this liability and is covering the roughly $100,000. So David has put in $100,000 US for the running of Kumbi Hospital. 50,000 goes to Norbu and the American Himalayan Foundation, and 50,000 comes to us for what we for the expenditures. And of course, we send these funds on both sides to Himalayan Trust Nepal, who oversee the running of Kumbi Hospital. But we've also got a few other just recent contributions. My sister Sarah and I have received some funds, largely from Rolex Perpetual Planet, and we have just transferred $50,000 US to the Himalayan Trust to go towards its programs and its funds. I've gone back to. There's just been lots more of these contributions. I've been in touch with Peter Carnahan of Trojan Holdings, who own the Hermitage. I renegotiated the agreement that my father had with the Hermitage and the Zealand and Nepal Alpine Centre, because they were concerned during the pandemic, you know, what's going to happen to the Hermitage. Were they going to have anyone go there? They had a big drop in the number of clients, guests coming to stay. So it was done on the basis of the number of people who utilised the Zealand and Nepal Alpine Centre. And as many of you will know, tourism has really started again. The Hermitage is doing very, very well. With a slow start for the last 18 months, we're about to receive, I don't know if it's come in yet, Jason, but 15,000 NZ dollars. And Peter thinks that the current year will be substantially in excess of that. So that will be going back towards what we were getting from the heritage of the previous agreement, which was around $23,000. So useful money. We're also going to get around about $10,000 from a whiskey company. What's it called? We sort of wondered about being involved in this, but when we found that this fellow had actually already made the whiskey and was selling it anyway, we thought, well, you know, philosophical concerns had to be jettisoned because we had to be part of the action. Then sort of wander off with that. So we're going to see how that goes. But half of that money comes in now, and we get the other half towards the end.
December.
In December. So, well, look, I would like to ask Mike Chisholm to come up. Mike and Sherry. This was a wonderful collaboration. All the work and investment you've done, you know, getting a system that's so versatile, it is a difficult place to operate on. I can't think of a better collaboration for us. So thank you for being part of what we're able to do with you. Okay, thank you.
Oh, well, hey, thank you for inviting Cheryl along today. We really enjoy being here. And also thank you for your kind words. In a way, I feel like just reversing them and saying there's no way we could build the computer labs that we have, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures today, without you and without Himalayan Trust and Power, without me. So it's a two-way street, and I value Himalayan Trust and Zealand and you guys as much as the kind words you'll see to me. So thank you. I think 3 or 4 years ago, you know, I came along and spoke at the AGM in Christchurch. You know, I gave a bit of a history there of being, well, who am I anyway? And I'm a Kiwi, wanting to do something in Nepal, and why have I ended up doing this? So I'm going to skip it. I can't be there today, otherwise I won't have any time. But any of you don't, wondering, well, who are you? You talk to me afterwards or during dinner, and I'll tell you a bit why and how we ended up. Just very briefly, we lived in Nepal in the 1980s. Our youngest daughter was born there. And I ended up making more money than I needed. And I'm an accountant, to go that far enough. And I ended up going into a software business and making more money than I needed. And so what to do with it? After telling my 2 daughters that they're not going to get it, I thought we could give it back to Nepal. And so that's sort of the start of it. There's more story there. But now I'm trying to give you an update and saying, okay, what happened in the last year and what are we going to do in the next year, and to some degree even in the next 10 years. So the next one slides in time for a review. So as Peter, you were talking about with you, Alex, I think as well. I was going to Nepal 4, 5, 6 times a year to help. I'm sort of semi-retired, and to help with EduTech Nepal. Got an office over there with five people in it, so a small team again. And to try and work with them to build computer labs. COVID came in there and stopped us travelling in effect for 3 years. So about a year ago, again, I got the chance to go back, and I thought I want to do a review of everything. We've been building computer labs in Nepal for about 10 years. I think our first one was about 12 years ago. We didn't do any, we only did one, and then we waited 3 years to sort of see how that was. And then we've sort of taken a bit of and we've carried on from there. But I still wanted to review for sure on I, you know, in the money we got from selling our business, getting some sort. And actually, when it's your own money, you're going, why am I wasting it? I don't want to waste it. There'd be no point in wasting it. And so I'm going to be really hard-nosed, as I have learned to be in business, really critical, really look at what's not working rather than what is working. And, you know, is it fixable? Can we get good outcomes from these computer labs? Actually, so computer labs, there's many people and NGOs give computer labs to Nepal because they go over to Trek and they're looking at a school and go, you know, look at that. And you don't get a computer, or they'll be shown a computer, which is probably a dead computer or two, and they'll just go, wow, you know, that's terrible. we'll get you some more ones. Actually, I've just, not this last trip, sorry, the trip before I went over in July, August. Oh no, sorry, it's just our last trip. We came back a couple of weeks ago. And there was one school, this wasn't at the Himalayan Trust area, but one school had been given 10 laptops, new laptops into there. Not a good idea, the laptops even for a bunch of reasons, but actually they lasted 6 months. They're all dead. So because we're really going to school and just think, well, how many of them work? Often that's what we say, how many of these are working? None. So, and there's a reason for that. There is no follow-up and possibly what's the warranty and who's actually backing them up or servicing. There's just a whole lot of stuff like that. I was almost going to, I'll get into it. Actually, the government in Nepal is sort of going, oh, health schools should have the internet and they should have computers. So they actually, or they should have technology. So they've put up an amount of money for each school over in Nepal. But like governments in a lot of places, I won't say New Zealand, but like governments in a lot of places, they're incredibly good at wasting money. And it's really sad to see, actually, when you see governments put in the same amount of money as we do for a computer lab into some technology that totally doesn't work. Or even into, I've seen computers, 20 computers, they're not bad computers, covered in dust within a year, and they're dead and they're not going to work. So part of my review was to say, what makes a successful computer lab? You as the Himalayan Trust should be going, should be asking that question. And then Cheryl and I, and certainly I do, ask the same questions. So while I was here, then I wrote a paper or a document. I talked to the schools, I talked to the headmasters, the teachers, the students, and our support partners. And again, from my experience of being in business, I was looking for issues of Bill Gates' thing. I want as much bad news as good news, is what he demanded from his managers. So I was looking for the bad news. Tell me everything that's wrong here, so I can sort of try and understand the real picture and could we fix it. So I wrote this paper. It's actually on our website, or you could ask me for it, but it's got a longer document of it, saying here's the 10 critical success factors to make computer labs work. So I run through them. I'll definitely run out of time. High quality and everything. So I absolutely insist on that. It actually causes a bit of grief in Nepal with Women's Social Welfare Council. So it's just sort of saying you've got to get quotes for everything, and so they're demanding the cheapest. And I'm trying to say the cheapest doesn't work. We actually get Dell equipment from a great supplier and come and do it. And it supposedly makes a profit of 1 cup of coffee for a $100,000 order. Really, really great company, and a great person who runs that, great Italian person who runs that company. And then we've got, that's got 3-year warranty, you see. So they're really good at servicing that and backing that up. And while the school then, which we write an MOU to them, is actually putting money back in to a computer fund, then they can, it's sustainable. It'll keep going. Number 2, and I'll put a big yellow around that because that's, we've already started that at the beginning, but there's no way. I'm going to show you some really cool pictures of some fantastic computer labs, and it couldn't be done if we didn't work together. It just wouldn't work. So I'm super appreciative of, and I keep saying, Peter, that you hope it carries on for a long time. So yes, so do I. I must introduce my daughters to you. For working. For a future that I think we can put on. There must be an MOU with the school. The school must agree with Himalayan Trust and with us to do some things to make sure that they have a sustainable in use. You must have a committed, passionate and enthusiastic principal and school committee chairperson and a computer teacher. Actually, when we validate schools and qualify them, we go out and give the computer teacher a test. In Nepal, you're up against sort of everybody passes everything. So it's not quite like I have to work my way through that. Sometimes I'm on a conference call with the guys over there and there'll be a slide come up where we rate the teacher. And you'll have excellent, very good, and good. And so I've learned to go good. Well, okay. Well, how much did they get in the exam out of 20? 2. And I said, well, that's not good. Not good. And so I'm working that. So actually, if that happens, we just say, no, we're not giving you a link. You're going to have to go and do some more training. And when you can pass the test, then we'll give it to you. We've really learned to be really hard-nosed about that. And Lingmer and Kasane are really good now at understanding that they're the rules. That's what makes it part of what we do. Assess, inspect, verify, validate everything. Which the the Nepalis we work with tell us that just as much as we do. Because when you're filling out the application form to get a lab, you'll go say, have you got visual level power? Tick, yes. And then, you know, I met a school that said that, well, they didn't. There was none there. Then you say, wait, why did you tick it? Well, it's coming. Well, when is it coming? Oh, the next year. So I go, oh, well, next year you can apply it. Not this year. Next slide. So provide great content. Actually, I'm super proud of it. I'll just skip over it. You could ask me later. I think we have the best content. I describe a computer lab without good content. There's a car without an engine. It's just a waste of time. It's just some technology. So content is king, and I've really worked hard as a little wee NGO to go and find all the content creators and say, hey, there's fantastic content for Nepal, all the curriculum in Nepali, in English, give it to us for free. Thanks, because don't you want to help Nepal? So we've done a good job at that. Actually. Teacher training. It just never ends. You put more effort into it, and, just hire a full-time teacher, qualified teacher, Nepali teacher, who that's his job is to just keep training, develop and provide respective certification. Well, that's something we've just introduced. Because I get asked the question, as you should be asking as well, how do you know they work? How do you know the computer lab work? How come the nice photo? How do you know it works? And those two things. So one KPI we'll give ourselves now is that we actually go and do our own exams in the classroom. One of our guys will be there, or maybe as we get more trusting, we'll say Nava can be there as long as he obeys the rules. And that is, so there's a cut-off time. This exam's only for a length of time, and then it cuts off, and you pass or fail. There are some marks that you have to get. And the reason for that, and then we actually spend a bit of money to get a really thick, high-quality certificate that has Himalayan Trust on it and educate Nepal on it. And those students are really proud of that. They can put that up in their house, but more than that, one day, I want them to be able to go to Kathmandu and say, I've got a computer programming certificate, Excel certificate, a typing certificate, here's my school. They'll get a job. I could take them to places that would employ you just like that. So I thought that's a good way. I'd like to be able to then, I'll be back to you guys saying, hey, this year in Himalayan Trust schools, we issued 5,312 certificates as a way of saying, are we doing something good? And is it validated? Provide ongoing computer health checks, updates, maintenance and support. That's why often they die. So we both parties do that. Himalayan Trust do that with a guy called Nava who's going around checking them, and then we do that as well. If we don't go back and validate it, won't work. Right, so we start.
Nava's great.
Hey?
Nava's great.
Nava is great. Yeah. Gonna run it, you might be able to keep doing it. Anyway, I wanted to do how we know computers there. This computer lab, I took that picture in July or August when I was there in the monsoon. That's in a place called Satan. Satan. And it was hard to get there. It's only 50 k's from Celery, and it took us 6 hours. And some of the potholes are holes. Anyway, there was an adventure and a journey to get to Satan. Actually, Satan is a wee bit more remote. There's lower Sulphur, but it's a wee bit more remote because I couldn't get a bottle of water there. So obviously not enough tourists go there to justify a bottle of water. But anyway, I went to Satan School to see how they were going. So, and there's a picture of the computer lab there. I really like that, like taking that picture. The reason is that looks like a pretty new computer lab, huh? And wow. So it's 5 years old. So that's a 5-year-old computer lab where we've worked with Himalayan Trust to deliver. And I tell you, it's all working. In fact, Ashok got up, and he's the guy who runs EduTech Nepal there, and gave a little chat and asked the guys who's your favourite football player. And I think one Messi or something came up and he said, oh, we'll type it in here and find out about him. And which they did, and straight away there's a picture of him, pictures and content on him. And what's really interesting is there's no internet here. So that's an offline version of Wikipedia, 56 gigabytes that we put onto the servers there. There's 2 servers, there's redundancy all built into there. And I think those guys were thinking, man, we've got really fast internet here. But we have built a solution that I would say, internet will come, I'll talk about that later, but we built a solution that I think is really practical and works in Nepal. In that situation. Anyway, there's a great picture of the sea, and gave me a lot of encouragement, as it should do you, to say, is our money wasted? No, look at it. It's all it's going very well. Next slide. Oh, that's Lukla. I've been to Lukla. That photo was about 3 years ago, but I tried to get a photo. It's too blurry of one that was just taken a couple of months ago. It looks just the same. And again, that's 5 years old. And it's really encouraging. So actually, again, you guys do an incredibly good job, and Himalayan Trust and Nepal does a really good job of working with us to make sure that these labs are sustainable and grow and work. Next slide. Right, what did we do last year? And there's a little bit, I can't show you all the one way at a time, but I can show you all the labs. But what I wanted to show you here was this is what a computer lab looks like in most Nepali schools. Some actually don't have new computers with. This is Namche School, which we talked about before. You've seen make some fantastic photographs looking down onto Namche. And so that was the computer lab. I'd take a bet that not all those computers work. And there's a mixture of, you can see laptops over here, then some desktops over here. And the poor teacher, has got no chance of, there's no connecting any of those computers. And I almost look at it and go, not that I'm the teacher, Cheryl's the teacher, but I look at it, how would you teach? And all turn on now, and what would start even? And I just go, gosh, it's better than some schools are looking at a picture in a book and trying to learn about computing from a book. Well, that's pretty hard, but this is not much better than that. Now I'm going to show you what it turned into, the same room. And Peter and Roxanne were there just not that many months ago last year looking at it. So that's the same room. They're awesome. That's awesome. I'm super proud of that because that was at 3,800 metres. You're way up there at that height and you're going to go, wow, this labs stuff you can get in New Zealand. And there's a whole lot of technical things that make that lab really, really good as well. I think we're fundraising thing now on behalf of Himalayan Trust rather than me because we pay our half because I ended up with more money than them. So that's okay. But Himalayan Trust pay the other half. And what I'd say to you, if any of you know, if you yourself or show any of your friends or companies or organisations or Rotary or something, a before picture like that, like I just showed you, and then show that and say, you could do that. Do you want to fund that? If you put your name on it, your family name, you could do that. Would you like that? Go and visit it and visit it with your kids and create a thing. And it's incredibly cheap. Much cheaper than you think.
Well, I think New Zealand spent $20 million on 5 labs or something. So it's it's very, very cheap.
Yeah. Like sort of $5,000 or $6,000.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, I seem to end up giving a talk a month recently, including I spoke to you about it, Rotary Christchurch, and people, you can see them. I mean, they are they're well heeled, and they're looking to say, I've never been back to Nepal. How can I help? That's why I've asked you for those pages. But if we had a way where people could have their name on it or step forward, I think it. I don't know if we're taking candy from kids, but I think there is a capacity to do that.
Oh, so I've done it to some Rotary clubs. I've got some friends who are friends that are providing us. Again, we're okay there, but I've seen it. Can I pay? If I can, you can do that. So I'm just saying, most people who have some money also then looking at the before and the after. And again, your schools where you've done it before and after, also just upgrading your school. People look at it and say, so what would my money go to? That. Oh, okay, that's okay. I'll give to that. So project-wise, do that. And talk to Alex about that. But I think it's easy to raise money. So I'll better keep going. Oh, there was we've also done the Himalayan Trust asked to do some monasteries. Actually, I think the percentage of kids who carry on to being monks is only about 30%. What?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, so 70% don't. And the kids in the monasteries often actually really poor families because the parents can't really afford to bring them. So, when asked, would you do that? I was going,
Yes.
So you get a lost generation of kids that miss out on education because they went to monastic school. And so, yeah, the need was to make sure that those kids, regardless of whether they went to monastic schools, would receive literacy and technological training.
So understand, you're not just learning ICT, these guys are learning geography and science and maths. There's a huge amount of multimedia content to help them through there, and the whole Nepali curriculum is on there. There's a huge amount of content I go through there. I mean, I visited that store, obviously, it was really nice, and it's great to see those kids, and they're all into it, and using it. So, quite nice. Oh, right, so two significant challenges. But I'm going to say we build, I think, together, awesome computer labs. The best in Nepal. It's real. It's fantastic. But there's two big problems that I want to solve. One is, here's number store. I don't think but there's classroom on there. Oh, there's the one classroom with a computer lab. So what about all the other classrooms? That's a problem. Can't build computer labs and everything. The computer lab and the hardware is a good thing, but how do we get other teachers and other subjects using the content in those computer labs? And then the other one is, I'll just block that off, but a picture of a Valley house in the second level. So that's what it is. What about the home? Especially the home with no vigilance or no power. How do we get kids who want to learn more doing something at home? So next slide. I'm going back to Nepal in 2 weeks' time, and I'm meeting with a couple of American guys who have built this wooden box over here, which is made in Nepal to do actually. A lot of parts, and it's the only thing I found in the whole world. I've done a lot of research and sent someone to China to get stuff for me, and I've got back in Nepal a device that has got an LED projector, so low power, Wi-Fi, battery, sound, so you could sort of put this box here. It could be linked to your computer lab, and it could display a geography lesson on volcanoes. And just like that. And you could have several of these in there. So these American guys are actually even older than me, and want to do some sort of MOU with us to say, could you carry on with this? It's called a Luma device. As you see, there's on top of the Luma device, there's also they've been thinking about, they come from a teaching background, so all the content on there, which is our content as well, is tagged to a lesson plan. So here's teachers with lesson plans, and so it's all tagged to that. And the controller is sort of like a TV remote. You don't have to know anything about computers. It just sort of is on button and the next button, and then the whole thing can work. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's a unique solution developed for developing countries. That's the only thing I can find in the whole world that would actually allow us to extend the lab to the other classrooms, which makes a big difference. Had another slide for how do we get it to home. I'm looking at developing a library in the computer lab, a library of tablets. Yes, I'll come back to a library of tablets that you can check in, check out. So the students could take them home and then have the week or the month's content on there. And then, when I'm over in Nepal, I'll say, look, when the parents are told to go to sleep, or they just hold the cover up and say, keep reading and keep learning. You'll be able to do it.
So these can connect by Wi-Fi, that's the main that?
Yes. Yeah, that's one option. And there's also an SSD card, so you can just do it that way as well. So, but we're going to pilot them, and we'll pilot some and sort of and see how they go. I'm pretty excited about that, but I think it really. Next slide. Selecting schools in the year ahead. So that was past year. So what are we going to do over the next year? What are you going to do as Learn Trust? How do we selecting schools? So I'm just going to run through some real quick slides. We did quite a lot of work. We've figured out how to do this quite well now, and we do it well because Himalayan Trust Nepal helps us do it well. We do it together. So next slide. We actually. We will go out and we write a report. We meet the school and meet the people involved. So the chairperson, the head teacher, the computer teacher said, excellent, very good. There's no goods there. So you're probably qualifying. Give their details. Actually, I noticed the difference these days. They've nearly all got a Gmail address. So the world is still starting to change. Then we get a series of photos of what the school looks like and the people involved in the classroom or the old classroom or the new lab. students have computer like that. So then the next, this one's in Qatar. The next slide is the detailed information. Actually, we validate it. We go to the books and check it. That how many students are at the school. So there's 425 class 6 through 10. That's where we're really doing the computer teaching. So yeah, right. So there's quite a lot of students there. There's pretty computer that's not going to work. So everything's looking good. Then we have this checklist that we go through and go tick, 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 tick. So I sent Mina's office or Himalayan Trust office about 3 weeks ago and went through this with Mina and the team to say, okay, which ones are we going to choose this coming year and which ones, which ones are we going to do and not going to do with other computers. The next slide, what came up with, that's what we'll do. They were proposing 9, but we settled on 8, put more computers in some schools that had more students, doing one monastery. We always get pushed a bit in Nepal, so I said the limit's 100, but we got it up to 100. So okay, we do 100 computers a year. You can do that over 5 schools or some more schools. So that's what we're heading into this year. It works because of Himalayan Trust. That's next slide. Oh, cool. I'll just get to that. So what are the next 5 to 10 years look like? So there's a wee bit of a summary. It's a little bit of a futuristic looking picture, isn't it? It's just in the past. And I sort of pondered this when I was making the presentation. I'm going to tell you that it could be.
It's not actually bizarre in 10 years.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you this. There's something incredibly amazing information. The last financial year, sorry, I don't have the numbers, I've got to get it off our shop. Nepal went more money from IT than tourism. So isn't that amazing? And I've been partly motivated by saying, wow, come on guys, learn computers and join the world as it is today. And there's income there for you. When we lived there in the 80s, I used to sometimes say, what was the word? I was going to say I was depressed when I use that word, but I was really bothered by Nepal being locked in there between China and India. No port, I sort of couldn't see a future. Saying how progress is just so blooming hard. It can scale its mountains, and it does, in a sense. But how else can it earn a living? How can it grow into a wealthier country and do well? And now I go, Nepal's going to be wedged between the 2 richest countries on earth, is my opinion, in 2 years' time. And you know what? There is no border. It's the internet. We're all connected. And I think Nepal could do incredibly well. The future looks really bright. And I know some Nepali entrepreneurs in the IT world in Kathmandu are doing incredibly well. And so I think that we can help the students who want to go in and do well. So a connected world. By and large, 90% of our computer labs are not connected to the internet, and we've made them work like that very well. But the Nepal government has decreed that all schools will have the internet. It's amazing how politicians in an office can sort of say something like that and poof, it all happens. Well, it sort of doesn't happen. However, it is starting to happen. And even while I was there in that August trip, a computer lab, not a Himalayan Trust one, down on the Terai, 500 kilometres away, really almost 2 days to get there. Something failed on it. And Ashok in our office, they're on the internet. Ashok in our office, which is like most software companies here, went in, and came back to the me 10 and said, well, thanks. It's awesome. It's awesome. But I know that you can do that. That's what we do here, and we'll be able to start to do it here. Let alone educational content and a whole bunch of other things like that. It'll change. So I'm actually quite, as much as I'm getting older and a bit more tired these days, I'm actually really quite excited about that. We've done 10 years, the next 5 to 10 years with internet, connecting everything, and AI, it'll change education unbelievably, and it will help education, in my opinion. I've made some bold statements if you want to follow me up a bit later, you can. I think that it will actually change the world, and it will help. Throw it again. My last slide. So thanks for partnering with us. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I love working with you guys and being a Kiwi and providing education. Number one way out of poverty in Nepal. So thank you for your support and helping people together. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, great job, Graham. I'm just interested in what are the options with internet, because I heard there's some talk about the Starlink, as Elon Musk, and because can they get cable up there? I mean,
well, they do incredibly. You know, being facing them and say, "You got," and they go five, and they go, "What? Where is it?" So that is
At the Everest 70 event in Kunjong, they were very, very proud to have installed fibre into Kunjong for the hospital and the school. And 2 months later, I was meeting with Mingno, and it is not working anymore. So there's a lot of challenges. The fibre was installed shallow, and maintaining infrastructures.
where would that come from? Where would the base be for?
Very good question. I don't know.
well, they're going to come and go in the real link to all floating.
So this is coming from Captain and Dubai cable up to Kent.
Yeah. So I think Starlink would. What was microwave? Oh yeah, but then for being the last the hiccup fibre there. But the nice Pepe 2 kilometres on Look, it's got fibre there and it possibly should. But I actually think I think the best solution would be Starlink. And the government just sort of and I was going to write to Elon and say, come on, I was wasting a lot of more. Well, I've spent a lot of money on Teslas and that. So give it back. We'll see.
That's not just a stupid idea.
No, I'm going to. Sorry.
I was going to ask you, you talk about the children after school and that. Some of the boarding schools, would it be worth putting the computers in some of the boarding schools?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And actually visited one with Himalayan Trust. We did a boarding school and we talked about it saying, hey, we should extend that to have some more computers in there so the kids, instead of, I tell them to go and break the lock off the end and just work all night on the computer there, but take a boarding school. So you must get on to it.
I'm thinking about the challenge about the communities and the homes.
Yeah.
And if you have a lab that's operating in a school,
yeah,
and the school finishes at 3 or 4,
yeah,
the sort of capital and the investment sits there. Have you looked at the, I guess, the opportunities and the challenges of then having that open to parents and community classes? I'm sure we would have, but
yes. So good question. So we have asked at videos as well. So in hearing you with the school from both parties, from Himalayan Trust and from us, we asked the school to open the lab after hours and before hours, and to pay the teacher. That'll actually help make it work. So some are doing it because it is there. So yes, that really is. I think I better quit and talk to them later. Sorry for taking your time. But anyway, thank you for it.
Thank you very much, Mike. And it's a wonderful collaboration. Thank you, Chairman. Really appreciate it. We look forward to continuing this for years to come. Well, I'd like to ask Jason, our accountant. Jason has seen a lot of changes in the Himalayan. The accountant with my father was the chair deficit through a whole lot of changes and doing still is. I'm waiting for more book actually.
Right, Peter. Bit of a challenge really, because we've had an hour and a half of fantastic projects and stories and successes we've heard from Mike and likewise Peter and Alexander. And we always feel like a bit of like the Grinch who stole Christmas or something, to be honest, because we've really got to bring it down to like the boredom of the numbers for the year. So that's my job here today. Same sort of format as previous years, really. We'll talk about some of the highlights in terms of the numbers, then high level sort of summary in terms of where the money comes from and where it goes, and then look at the financial position and the performance of the trust. Please just shout out if any queries you've got, because sometimes I'll take the accountant's approach and forget that the normal man in the street doesn't know what I'm talking about, okay? So please interrupt me. In terms of highlights, I think it was Peter who mentioned, always the highlight is the support from MFAT, obviously, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. They provide around 385 grand a year. And there's a longest term agreement through to July 2025. And I think certainly in over a long period of time, as you mentioned, I've been involved. The current sort of relationship that you guys have with MFAT is super strong. So I'd be very confident it's going to continue well beyond that. The 70th anniversary was, highlight of the year. The trek was just actually, as well as celebration and the success of it and monitoring the projects as part of the trip, and just the reputational enhancement and PR from it. The trek itself actually made about $90,000 surplus, which was amazing when you think about it. And that includes the donations coming out of the trek and what have you. I thought I'd also mention the Auckland and Christchurch events, which were in July. So they were actually outside our financial year, which is the 30th June. So those actual numbers go into next year's accounts. But I thought I'd mention about those anyway. So again, they were super successful. There's probably about $55,000 surplus from both events. That is ticket sales, donations, auctions, etc. And there was definitely an uptick in sort of regular giving and general donations over that, those couple of months, just with the visibility and what have you. As Alexander mentioned, cost of living has had a big, it's all you've heard about, isn't it? The price of petrol for the last 2 years, to be honest. That cost of living has definitely had an impact on fundraising, just in terms of the general public, but also in terms of the corporates and their ability to fund projects and that kind of thing, becoming more, more critical assessment and that kind of stuff. Also operating, of course, in a world where the investment markets, I personally given up trying to predict what's going to happen with them, because honestly, ever since COVID came along, the investment markets have been like a roller coaster ride. They're like up and down. So it is a really challenging environment. And on the background of that, of course, you have from our funding partners, from MFAT, etc. They all want more and more accountability, more and more reporting. The effectiveness of the spend, part of the trip that Peter Alexander did in November 22, first time since COVID getting over there, obviously, is super important. And we also get those regular updates and reports from HTM. But having, despite the challenging environment, it was another year of, significant grants from Himalayan Trust New Zealand to Nepal. It was like $901,000 sort of went over there. Part of that was a bit of catch up. Obviously, there was some delay in projects with COVID and what have you, but that is an extraordinary amount of money. Next slide, thanks. So this is just a really high level, and in the annual report, this is all the really important, really good stuff on the front, but in the back you will find the financial information, and it does include these couple of graphs.
It's not in the back, it's in the middle.
There you go. And if you're really keen, you can, in due course, and the charity will be the actual financial statements themselves, but this summarizes everything. As I say, 34% or 35% of our income comes from impact. Donations and bequests is 18%. That includes all aspects of fundraising, Everest Day, Christmas campaign, regular giving, etc. There was the trick this year, which was 17.3%, which was amazing. The summer challenge, 8%. Then there's major donor gifts and also from the investment portfolio, interest in dividends and what have you. So that's where the money comes from. In terms of where it goes, 60 to 63% is spent, goes to the pile on direct programs. Education being the foundation of all that. Obviously, a little bit of COVID and that $50,000 a year was we talked about for Kundu Hospital. There were truck costs during the year, obviously. And then the other expenses, obviously, the two staff members and volunteer costs. And other expenses pretty much captures everything else. It's credit card fees and marketing,
event expenses,
IT, summer challenge expenses, travel, etc., etc. Obviously, most of the donations these days come through Stripe system or something like that, and like all credit card companies or whatever these companies are, percentage taken as part of that. In terms of the statement of financial position, so this is old school balance sheet, if you like. The simplest way to understand it really is, if you stopped everything right now, how much money would you have? You know what I mean? What's assets, this your liabilities. And the net assets of the Himalayan Trust was 3.88 million at year end, being 30 June 23. And that's predominantly the investment portfolio. So we use a fund manager, private wealth advisors. And that's a variety of, fixed interest, bonds, equities, property funds, etc. It's a moderately conservative portfolio using the sort of finance terminology. Well, I know the board is considering that and moving slightly more growth assets. And last year there was a decline in the value of the portfolio, again, given the investment markets around the world, but as we'll see shortly, it did grow in value this year, as well as the interest and dividends coming from it. Because, the investment portfolio has been about $4 million. It goes up a bit, it goes down a bit, but the aim, I guess, back in Zealand's time when he set up the sort of endowment fund was to sort of have $4 million, to generate income perpetuity, to fund projects, etc. And it's sort of around about that level. In fact, it has in the last 4 months sort of recovered quite, decently in the last month, certainly, and I think it's around the $4 million now. I thought I'd just also mention there are some tagged funds, and when I say tagged funds, what I really mean is that obviously the INFAT, they give us 385 grand a year. We provide some other funds on those projects as well. Obviously, we have to spend it on those projects. We report to them every year. So it's specifically tagged for that. Also, had to remember the number of, the years that passed, but there is an avalanche fund to help educate some of the children from the Sherpas who died in the avalanche while pre-COVID. That's still about $32,000 from memory. Next slide just has the start talking about the profit and loss account or financial performance. So to summarize the revenue, and then we'll get onto the expenditure. So here's the sum of those bigger numbers. So there was a loss for the year of about $310,000. The revenue was 1.03 million. As I say, 385 of that came from the government through info. Donations and bequests was 133 grand. Summer challenge, $90,000. A significant contribution. The trek, as I say, to participate in the trek and the donations and everything, $195,000 of revenue, and as I say, there were expenses on the other side, so that overall was about a $90,000 surplus. And then interest and dividends is actually, physical interest and dividends received from the investment portfolio. Those are the big contributors to revenue. The other side of that obviously is expenditure, and as was summarised on that graph before. So total expenditure was $1.34 million. As I say, the big items there obviously the direct programs I mentioned in Nepal, quality education, which is, the foundation again was $801,000. That is literally through integrated learning, the school-based teacher training, the scholarships, the community engagement, etc. School infrastructure, teacher education, all comes under quality education banner. COVID-19, there was still ongoing funding for PPE and what have you. And then the community hospital was pretty much that 50,000 US dollars we talked about. The other expenditure, apart from that, going back to that graph again in terms of the other costs, but obviously there were trek costs, and there was also obviously program monitoring and management and what have you. And finally, just on the investments, so the gain in the value of the investments during the year. So this is the unrealized gain. When you get an investment, you've got the interest and the dividends, of course, which are paid out. But as you know from the KiwiSaver or your own investments, obviously the market value goes up and down. So there was an increase in the value of the investments of 160 grand during the year, which on the 4 million portfolio is not fantastic, obviously, but also better than last year, for example, on the right track. Did anyone? That was pretty much a high-level summary. Did anybody have any questions though, or want any more detail on any of that? If not, please just come and grab me anyway, and ask any specific question. And I do have detailed financials in there, so I should be able to answer most of them. Thank you.
I'll be pretty brief on this, but this year the board has approved a new strategic plan, which is very, very exciting. So that's for the next 5 years of our work. And it's a little different from the last one. I'm going to go through it quite quickly because I would encourage you all to have a read of it. It's going to be really important for our next 5 years. But one of the things that we sort of did was address some of our values again, sustainability and empowerment, which is a big thing about our relationship with HDN and being, as Ed sort of led, responding, not dictating in Nepal is very, very important. Partnership and friendship, having a strong partnership with HDN, but also Digitech. Creativity, transparency, respect and integrity are really important to us. And And then we just sort of looked at the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and which ones that we're working towards, which of course are no poverty, very important. But the sort of the thing that we've added in this time is sustainable communities and climate action. Himalayan Trust has a rich history in climate action, and we think it's about time that we started to address that because it's becoming more and more part of life in the Himalayas. So there are 6 main goals in the strategic plan. And to briefly summarise, there are 3 program-related goals. The first one is healthy lives, to do with healthcare, but also well-being in the community. The other one is equitable and quality education, so a continuation of our quality education program, but introducing other things. Like I'm working really hard at the moment at developing a menstrual health program that will just help ensure that throughout Solomon, we're even to the remote regions, menstrual health, isn't a barrier to education. And then greater environmental sustainability and resilience. So we're also got a donor that's interested in supporting the project in the area of carbon sequestration. So we're trying to develop a strong project that will deliver more than just carbon sequestration, but we're looking at areas of watershed security and health, and also ecological heritage and biodiversity support. So we're really excited to be working on those projects, over the next year. And then, of course, we have 3 operational goals, sort of domestically here in New Zealand, which is just really trying to strengthen, long-term ongoing funding. What Jason was talking about, trying to build that investment portfolio just to ensure that we can continue working into the future. But also acknowledging the spirit of, Ed's legacy of leadership, adventure, and philanthropy, and keeping that relevant to New Zealanders. We think that's really important. Particularly for people, a lot of people come to the Himalayan Trust through that legacy. So strengthening that and being part of that story is really important. And lastly, as Peter has mentioned many a time, a lean and sustainable organisation, making sure that we're not wasting money here, that we're trying to utilise technology as much as possible so we can have a broader reach with less manpower. So those are sort of the 6 main goals for the next 5 years. I'm really proud of the plan. You can get it online under reports and plans. And yeah, we really welcome your feedback and any thoughts you may have relating to that, but you can find it online under the About page. And that is all from me. I'll hand over to Peter for the constitutional vote.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think your grandfather would have been very proud of what you're doing. So, very, very pleased to have you doing what you are doing. Look, I just want to run over the amendments that have been proposed for the Constitution and give you a little bit of background. I guess, this was brought in largely. Mike Gill got a lot of advice. He got the new Himalayan Trust Constitution written up. There's been some minor changes to it, but there's also been an opportunity to review how it operates. And there are a number of areas that we wanted to propose to the meeting for changes. And of course, this material has been already sent out. I just took the school, do I?
Yes.
So, of course, that's just part of it. Read it and enjoy it, it's riveting reading. But really, there's a classic constitution. But we wanted to look at board 10, the election of board members, to enshrine that there would be a 3-year term, that there is no limiting terms. And this is so that we retain institutional knowledge, people with a lot of commitment, as opposed to the current situation where they roll over after 2 terms. And to this end, actually, Mike Gill and Claire Newman, it is obligatory that they have to stand down because of this. And, you know, I think this is we lose the benefit of people who are very committed to the organisation. But we retain the fact that every 3 years, everyone has to go to election and they have to be re-elected or not, or someone else could be voted in. So it's not like actually in the early days of the Himalayan Trust and a lot of other organisations where it was almost once you're on, and you stay in there. So every 3 years, every member of the organisation has to stand for election. However, we're proposing that there will not be the 2-term limit. And we've also, in this clause, increased the quorum, which was a very small quorum for a meeting of just 3. They've decided to bump it up to 5, so that people are thinking. We have a larger group of people present when decisions are made by the boards. And this is clause 5.2 in the Constitution about co-option of 2 board members. In fact, this was already approved 2 years ago when Diane McKinnon proposed it here in Christchurch to the meeting. But this is, we will be formally integrating it, even though it exists, formally integrating it into the Constitution. And then 9.7, we've got the method of meeting for the AGM and SGM special general meetings, which can occur. And I just want we want these to include electronic simultaneous communication as well as in person and by proxy. And this is really just acknowledging since the Constitution was written, and let's face it, particularly over COVID-19, things have changed. We use this sort of technology all the time. So, thank you. And the method of meeting. So we've got that there dotted throughout the marked up Constitution. Obviously, there are lots of little changes because one of the really important changes we've got is the membership. And the membership was for the basically Alexander and Casey were very keen to make it very easy for people to join the Himalayan Trust, to be involved in the activities just by paying fee without having to be approved by the board. And we've decided that we think this is an incredibly good idea. So what this involves is there will be 2 varieties, excuse me, of membership of the Himalayan Trust. So anyone, the first one is just a straight member. And the proposal is that anyone pays the fee, they become a member, they will get the various mail-outs, invitations to the annual general meeting, or, you know, if Mingma Norbu or Kami Tampa is here, Norbu Tenzing is here in New Zealand, you'll get all the invitations to those events, but they will not have voting rights. The voting members will be the membership that we currently have. So all of you voting members, and other people can apply to become a voting member by filling out an application of what their background is, how they'd like to contribute, and the application would go to the board for approval. It's important to have oversight with voting membership. Because as does happen with organisations around the world, particularly when we've got an asset, like an investment fund, you can actually have a raid where people basically move in, take over, change direction of what the objects are. So those are the basic proposals. So having just sort of run over them, I'd like to go back to the start with the main ones and basically open it up to the meeting. for a vote. So back to the 410, which was the election of board members. You know, the proposal is a 3-year term, no limited terms, and increasing the quorum from 3 to 5. And I'd like to see who is for and who is against. Can we?
Just ask, of course, of only active members to, of course, vote.
That's correct. Raise your hand if you are for that motion. Thank you. Against? Carried. Well, thank you for that.
Sorry, can I get you all with hands up?
Just one.
I'm doing proxy.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
and I've actually got the proxy forms of 3 people, Stu Gray, Mike Gill, and my son George Hillary.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a formality. Somebody should move it and somebody should second it.
All right,
I'll move.
You move it.
I'll second.
Thank you, Alan. Second. 5.2 is the co-option of 2 board members. We don't need to vote on this because it's already been approved 2 years ago, and it was by Diane McKinnon, and so that will be formally integrated into the new version of the Constitution. Number 8 is the membership of the Himalayan Trust. As I was saying, we're going to have simple membership without voting rights, where we want to increase the membership of the organisation and get people along to events and participate in all of the activities of the Himalayan Trust here in New Zealand. And the voting membership is the existing membership plus people who make the appropriate application, and then that is approved by the current board. So,
Peter, I just comment about that.
yes,
We've seen very dramatically in the last couple of weeks what John Oliver did in America with the bird of the century.
a travesty.
I think the big tendency is most soothing, but it just shows how somebody can take over voting. And that's, I think, what's being proposed is excellent. I'll move that it be accepted.
Move that it be accepted. Approved. All right. Raise your hands if you support those the 2 tiers of membership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Against? Thank you. And finally, 9.7, the method of meeting for AGM or special general meetings as provided for in the Himalayan Trust Constitution, just to add in the inclusion of electronic simultaneous communication so that people who can't attend can still watch and participate as we're able to provide that technology. Would anyone like to?
I'll propose it.
I move that the proposal for electronic simultaneous communication be approved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And raise who's for? Against? Even a Luddite like me is going to vote for that. So, there we go. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I think basically I would like to just open the meeting to any general business and questions if anyone has anything that they would like to raise.
In the financial report, it talks about the significant contribution that we received from NFAT. Could you just comment, please, on how much longer the current agreement has to operate and what are our chances of that being ongoing in the future?
Well, the current agreement terminates in April 2025.
July. I think if the scholarship's to continue to July. I think the general program ends in April 2025. So that's the arrangement we have. We have no further arrangement with NFAT. So I'm working pretty hard to essentially create a plan for a redesign. We have a number of things that we need to do, but are quite stringent, as I'm sure you can imagine, for what they require. So we have to do a lot of due diligence. We have to propose a concept and create quite a detailed, 5-year plan. We have a good relationship with NFAT. Unfortunately, the development team has a huge amount of turnover, which is very challenging. So for context, I have dealt with and built relationships with 6 different managers in 2 years, which is quite hard. Each time you meet a new person, they're coming up to speed with the whole program. So that's definitely challenging, but they're really enthusiastic. They're very supportive. And I think the program is really important to them. I think that it goes to show that we had NFAT attending in Nepal for the Everest 70 events. They attended our events in Auckland and Christchurch, which was fantastic, and obviously representatives from government on both sides, which has been fantastic. So I think we have a good chance, and we just have to do the appropriate work over the next year to ensure that happens. And we have a long history as well with NFAT dating back some time. I think one of the major challenges for us is renegotiating a contract that is reflective of 2025, because our contract and arrangement has remained relatively similar for some time. We haven't factored in, or inflation has not been factored into the arrangement for many, many years. So things like that need to be adjusted, which will be quite a negotiation process that we're going to take next year.
It could be quite a negotiation process, but it's an opportunity. So we'll be really pushing.
It's a comment about risk, and I suppose we as a board have to at least have some shadow that that one would reasonably interpret that was put in place with significant political goodwill in the past. So there's churn in organisations. We're heading into a new form of government. Seems hell-bent on giving people like me more money and slashing here and there. So there is an element of risk, and while I would like to share the general optimism, presumably in future financial planning, we probably do need to run a sort of shadow. I don't want to make too big a deal of it, but we'd probably be negligent not to do so.
Well, what I'd mention is, Helen Clark, we've had a lot of support, with Chris Hitkins attending the event. There will be cuts within the development budget for NFAT, which will be a challenge for NFAT. But we do have a good relationship with, both parties. And it's a good program. It's got a great legacy for New Zealand. So I think we just need to come up with a good program.
Yeah.
But don't forget Winston.
But the counterfoil to that, if I may, might be the growth, a significant growth in New Zealanders who enrol as the new within the new membership form. The sort of thing you're doing on the social media platform, so that it is seen to be owned by many more New Zealanders. I think that might be part of it.
Any more questions?
Well, I'd like to put in a bit of a plug for volunteers and especially teachers, registered teachers, because we have a history. When we began that teacher training thing in 1997, each year we would have up to 10 teachers in their holidays paying for themselves to go over there. But what they were in fact doing was actually training the Palis. And so we talk about child-friendly education. They, the week before had been in front of the class, their own class. And so I think it's just opening doors for people. And I think a lot of us are here because Ethan has opened the door to me. He said, get here and we'll help build bridges or whatever it was. But I think I've made the point to Australia and Chief keep that going, and so have UK Trust. But I think that Mingma's a bit unsure about these volunteers coming and where they fit. Yeah, so anyway, I'd like to just put that out as a.
It's a good suggestion. It's certainly been a big part of what we've done in the past.
Yeah, and it's a way of getting new people involved.
Yeah, getting new people involved, and let's face it, the experience of going to Nepal, I mean, it has a big impact on people. Yeah, thank you for that. Well, look, we have a lot of plans over the next couple of years. Alexander and I spent a lot of time talking about the programs over the next 12 months. There's the Christmas appeal, there's Summit Challenge, which is a lot of fun, a great opportunity to get fit, and a number of other events where we're probably going to have our next meeting AGM a little bit earlier. We're talking about, we haven't finalised this, but we're talking about having Mingma Norbu, Kwame Tendor and his wife Dodona come here. And I think this could be a wonderful opportunity for not the bigger events that we had for the Everest 70th, but smaller, intimate events all around New Zealand. Maybe in a local Nepalese or Indian restaurant, Nelson, and sort of secondary centres around the country. So that sort of thing is, we think, would be a wonderful way to engage Himalayan Trust membership and supporters over the next 12 months. So hopefully you can sort of help us spread the word. But if there are no further comments at any time, Roger.
Peter, I would like to make a comment that in this year of the 70th anniversary of the ascent of Everest, there was a tremendous amount of work put into that program. And you went through it again in terms of the itinerary, in terms of the people going up there, the fundraising and all the rest of it, as well as bringing on the more traditional programs that we've had. And in basically the first post-COVID year we've had. So I want to acknowledge you, Alexander, particularly, for carrying forward Suret's gene for organisational capability and the gene for negotiation skills is going to come forward as we go with MFAT in the future. So I just appreciate a complete vote of thanks to the Hillaries for continuing to work with Suret's stuff. And please join me.
I also just say I really want to acknowledge the work that's gone in to the comms and marketing, like to get the film footage that we've got here, not only of our programs but supporting Himalayan Trust Nepal as well. It shows, and it's great sort of improvement from even a few years ago.
Well, the AGM closed, and it's time for us to wrap up.
Yeah.
And with the rest of you.
Go to dinner. So it's pretty straightforward. I might actually